Okay, welcome everybody. I want to let you know that these the lessons haven't the first couple of lessons on the Tardieu book have not been will be posted shortly. Actually, I think they are posted now. There was a little bit delay in them, but they are posted now, and they will be posted right away from now on. And so, as I said, we are going through the Tardieu book. We're going through the first chapter, which is covers the opening. And what I'm trying to do with those is to apply all the things that we've learned and see if we can come up with the right answer on these. And they're difficult problems. And then we'll see what Mr. Tardieu says and see if that helps. So again, these are a lot of challenging problems that you sort of have to rank all the things that we know. And I think the biggest basis of this is Nietzsche's opening concepts, but there are other things, bold, safe. We've gone over some of the masterclass Mochi's sections on it, the priming, attacking strategies, and that sort of thing, formations. So let's take a look at this first one. And we have a 6-5 to play. And what's the right move and why?
6-5.
Any idea? Well, let me say, what's the default move of the 6-5 is what? It's going to be the lover's leap, 24-13. And so because this is a difficult problem in a book of difficult problems, you can probably guess that's not the right move. So what is the right move here and why? Any suggestions?
You know, Kent Goulding often pushes for 24-18, 13-8. Obviously, that's the only other one I see other than just running. But the nice thing about being out there is you really impede your opponent making the board. So obviously they're likely to attack you on the 18.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there are a number of things here. We're behind in the race even after the roll. So generally, and the 6-5 out is kind of a racing move. So if you're not ahead in the race, generally you don't want to race. So that's sort of a hint that maybe that's not the right idea. And coming out to 6, and actually coming out is right. That's more than this. The other move is just a safe move to come past. We'll talk about that one first. To just go to the 2-point, but the 2-point is wrong for a number of reasons. One is you're putting a checker deep, which is not good, and you're putting a checker way past your opponent's anchor. So those are generally signs that that's not the right move. There are other things to think about too. Is that one, your opponent has an advanced anchor. That's generally a sign to split. You need to get an advanced anchor. Now there are complications. It's not that simple. Black has 10 checkers in the zone. That usually tells you to beware. And in fact, if you come out to the bar point, Black has 1, 2, 3, 4 spares waiting to pounce on you. And so that's that should be of concern. On the other hand, we have the better board. Kind of the bold safe criteria says, well, if you have the better board, you can play more boldly. And so coming out was going to stir a little contact. And that turns out to be the operating idea here, is that we're behind in the race and we have the better board. We need the contact. And even if Black points on us, if he points on us, at least he didn't make 5 point. or the 4 point or something else. Better that he make the bar point. And there's a chance that he might not be able to make the point. Well, and if he does, I think we've seen this in some other problems. If he does make the point, we have a better chance of making the advanced anchor, which is what we would like to do now. Given our opponent has an advanced anchor, we want to play the holding game if we can. Because the other games just aren't going to work. We don't want to let black prime us, and we don't want to let black attack us because he's got checkers in the zone. So all those things lead to that conclusion. I'll just tell you Mr. Tardieu's analysis or his conclusion to this. It says when your board is better than your opponents, don't avoid contact, especially when you keep your back checkers communicating with one another. So he talks about communication, a number of examples today. He'll talk about communication, which is not something that it's sort of around, but it's not something that anyone else has ever emphasized. Well, not ever, but in the Michi doesn't emphasize it, neither does Mochi, or the other things. So or the other authors that we've read. So but he does say that. And again, if we're not hit, we have a good chance of making making our bar point. And again, the idea is really to get the advanced anchor, and that's driven by our opponent having an advanced anchor. So hopefully that's so you got bold save coming on, you've got a very strong sign to split your checkers, and those things override kind of the normal play of the coming all the way out. Okay. Next one. 6-2 to play. What do we see here?
So
I
I'm
would
making
say,
tab. Go ahead. Go ahead, Richard.
no, go ahead. You first.
Okay, so I'd do 13-7,
Mhm.
13-11.
Okay, 2 down.
Yeah.
Okay, and why?
Well, because if you if I take one out to the 18 point,
Mhm.
he may get hit and sent back. He may make an inside point. He's stacked on the 12, so if I bring 2 down, I may have an opportunity to, a better opportunity in my next roll. I
think in general you don't want to put yourself in front of a stacked point, a heavily stacked point, because black really
Right.
wants to unstack this point. So
Yeah.
that would be a reason to that would be a reason to not come out with the 6 out here.
Uh-huh.
What else is meaningful about this? Always look at the race, always look at the board. So what do we
Well,
have for race?
So it's even.
Even race, yeah. Okay, so that doesn't so that's not a sign to stay behind, it's not a sign to run, it's let's look at the position. What about the board?
Well, I mean, he's got one opportunity to make another point in his board.
Well, but what I ask about board is he's got a 3-point board, he's got the best 3-point board, and we've got basically nothing. No board. And so it's not terrible. We've got the midpoint or the bar point. So we have a 3 prime, but we don't have the strong points. And we have
But if you bring two men down, you've got more ammunition to make a better board.
Yeah. You have 3 points to make the 3 spares to make the 5 point, and even the 4 point And if you break the 8, if black doesn't split, you can break the 8 pretty safely. And so you have a lot of chances to do that. What are the weaknesses on black's side? And what is black trying to do here?
Black would like to make either his 7-point or his 3-point.
Yeah. Yeah, black wants to extend the prime. He wants to, but also he wants to unstack the midpoint. And he's now well blocked. He wants to split and come forward from this back point.
I think I would bring the 6 down and come from the 24 to the 22.
Yeah,
Put some pressure on that 17-point or
yeah,
his 8-point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Only a 5-3 points on us.
yeah,
And,
Oh.
1 out of 18.
yeah. So
Well,
let's look at that, because here's, whenever you're thinking about splitting, you should always consult the splitting rules. And so what do the splitting rules say? If you don't remember, there are a couple of splitting rules. One is if your opponent has stripped his 8-point, well, that you can split. That's a sign to split. Well, here the opponent is more than stripped his 8-point. He's abandoned he's left a blot in his 8-point. He doesn't have an 8-point. So that would be a strong sign to split. Signs not to split. Well, other signs to split are, has your opponent split or made an advanced anchor, and he hasn't. So that doesn't tell you anything. What doesn't tell you to split? You want to be careful if your opponent has 10 or checkers or more in the zone. He's only got 8. He hasn't moved any down yet. So that's another sign that it's not a bad idea to split. Are you well blocked? Well, we're not well blocked here, so that doesn't give you the narrative. If we go back to the Mochi's opening ideas on this, are we playing against a priming versus a blitzing strategy formation from black? And if you don't remember that, well, here the blitzing formation is really stacked points. So black doesn't have stack point, black has a prime. That tells you to split, to get, don't get primed, don't get stuck behind the prime, come up here. So overall, those things sort of tell you need to split. Suggested that splitting is probably a good idea. So the question is, do you come up and down? Do you come up with the 2 or come up with the 6? And if you look at it that way, well, coming down from the 6 is kind of a natural move. It's perfectly safe. It gives you a spare to make an inner board point. And so that's a stronger move. Coming out to the 2 puts you at the edge of this prime. Black, if you remember Michi's proverb, attacking with 8 checkers is weak, attacking with 10 is strong. Black only's got 8 in the zone, so yeah, the 5-3 is bad, but that's the only really bad roll. I guess actually double 6s is bad. There are a few bad rolls, but you're not in that much of danger of getting hit. And black will probably hit you loose if he gets a chance because he's got the better board. But until black brings more ammunition down, you're not in terrible shape. So the right answer is 2 up and 2 down. And we didn't talk about running. Running is, I guess, the second best play. It's not terrible. But again, you're not really heading the race. So, it's not bad, but it's not really the right game plan. You want to get the advanced anchor, bring some ammunition down to attack black with, or make your prime or blitz or whatever. Realizing, and this, I think Tardieu emphasizes this. He says, when anticipating your opponent's desire, the most likely next moves, you can identify which of your own moves to take priority. So that's an interesting idea. We haven't seen, well, I haven't emphasized too much is, in this case, we know that black wants to bring checkers down to make the prime, and bring checkers in for an attack, and also to split to get past your you're blocking points here. And so by doing this move, you're sort of, throwing a wrench into both of those ideas. Black can't make a point here and come up. And the black comes up, he's got to do something with this checker. And if he gets like a 5-3 or 5-4 or something like that, he'll come down and cover and come up. But now you've got an extra checker in the zone to attack or to point or to do something useful. And if you get to 2, you can make the anchor, which you really need to do pretty soon. So in any case, that's sort of, complicated position, lots of things going on, and there are a lot of different ideas that should influence your thinking. I think the useful one here is recognizing what your opponent wants to do, and sort of get in his way, because your opponent has made the really strong board, and we're at like 40% to win here, so he's really got the advantage. And then we didn't have a truly constructive roll. We couldn't make an inner-board point. We couldn't make an advanced anchor. We couldn't run out safely. All those things. So that the best we can do is kind of thwart our opponent's game plan. And again, all these ideas, some of them contradict each other. But if we see positions like this, we can sort of hopefully work out to the best answer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, 4-1 to play. So the first thing, looking at a position like this, there's one play that should be your first thought, and by now everyone who's listening to this should recognize it. So you get a 4-1, and what's your first move going to be?
6-5-5-1.
Well, okay, you gave me 2, Charlie. I said the first one. The first one is going to be 6-5. Okay, that's what you should do. That's your first thought. Pretty much anytime you roll an ace and you can't make like the bar point or some other useful point, you're going to hit loose. And that's almost always the case. In this case, it's even more the case because you've got a better board. You've already made your 4-point. Black has nothing going on. And so that's got to be your first move. Now, hopefully, so then you're going to look for the best 4.
13-9.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, the 4s that we could look. Now, Charlie mentioned the double hit, 5-1. So that the double hit is always something that you should think about. The question is it right or not? So that would be that's certainly something to consider. But you've got 2 others that might make sense. Coming up, it's good to hit and split, and coming down, it's good to bring an extra checker in the zone and an extra cover for the 5-point. So let's deal with the double hit though, because this is one that Mishi addressed on the double hit is the tiger play. Do you remember what he said about the tiger play?
2 on the bar, best by far.
Well, Mishi didn't say that. The other people
Oh.
said that. It's a good thing to
Oh,
remember.
okay.
But what I'm referring to is, when do you make? He was I think, pretty clear about when do you make the tiger play and when do you not make the tiger play.
Do you have to have more men in the zone?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's the idea. But what he kind of paired with the tiger play is, attacking with 8 checkers is strong. Attacking with 10 checkers is strong, and attacking with 8 is weak. So in this case, we've only got 8, and attacking with 8 is weak. And so when we only have 8 checkers in the zone, we don't do the tiger play. So that's the thing. So okay, if we remember that, we can eliminate that one. So then, is it better to come up or to come down?
You want to bring another one down for a builder to try to cover that 5 point.
Yeah, well, there's the builder. Unstacking the midpoint is useful, it's constructive. Probably a secondary reason, but do we want, if you remember, Mochi's book, what he called it, I forget what he called it.
Back checker play.
No, that was that was Michi, but his if you remember this formation, this is a blitzing formation. And generally the idea is that you don't split into a blitzing formation. Whereas a priming, like with the last one we saw, a priming formation, you want to split into that. This is a blitzing formation. So those are kind of secondary factors. But the answer, is yeah, down and hit. Whoops, that's
Oh, that happened.
I forgot to put this one back. Oh, it's still doing that. Okay, I want to. Here we go. Yeah, it's down and hit. And that's the top play. The double hit isn't bad, but again, you really want to wait to get that extra checker in the zone before you do that. And even this play is not bad, up and down. So yeah, the main idea, for me here is that automatically you must hit. With the stronger board, in fact, it's almost always right to bring that spare on the 6 point and hit the 5 point. And this is Michi's fight, fight for the good point. Don't let your opponent get it. You got to fight for it. So you hit loose. So that's got to be the first thing that you see. And then the question of which 4 do you play? And if you didn't get the right 4, it's not terrible, but you're bringing that extra one down, helps your development, gives you an extra spare to cover. That's really I think the key thing. And the other things are sort of secondary. You don't have 8 in this. You only have 8 in the zone, so you don't do the tiger play, and you don't split into the the blitzing formation. So all those things, if you can kind of pull all those together, you'll come up with the right play. But again, the main thing is you must hit loose there from off the 5 point, and that's hopefully that's sort of automatic for everybody by now. I mean, it's beginners have a problem with that, but you play a little bit and you learn otherwise. That's the right play. Okay. Let me read what Mr. Tardieu said about that. He said, in the opening phase, the best possible play is one which works towards a priming structure, which leaves the opportunity to blitz. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a little bit helpful, but there are other things going on. Okay, this play. Here's another one where it should be. There's something here that should be kind of automatic. When you look at it. I guess I wouldn't say it's automatic, but you should be highly inclined to do it when you see it. And again, it relates back to one of Michi's proverbs. But first of all, what are the potentially good plays here?
6, 7, 8, 9.
And Charlie, this is one that you would like. You're on mute, Charlie. So
6, 3, 3, 1.
yeah. So now we have the tiger play going for us, and we actually have 9 in the zone. So that's something that that you would consider. That's just a much stronger play in this situation than it was in the last. Is it the best play though? What are the alternatives?
Well, 13-10,
13 to
then
10,
it-
yeah. Now, and
and
yeah,
then
now
either 13-11
that's-
or 18-16. I'd
Yeah.
probably bring another one down.
so here's another one of Beachy's proverbs, which is make the outfield point. And generally, you're going to make the outfield point rather than hitting loose somewhere. But it's often right to make the outfield point, even if you leave another blot. Now, the other play is 18 to 13, which is is the safe play. Safety is this checker. We should always keep it, in this issue, we also should think about, bold safe, race and board. We're behind in the race after the roll, we're still behind in the race. So that tells us not really to race. 18 to 13 is a race move. And it's safe. So that's kind of a check against that one. Black has the better board, so that would tell us sort of to play safe. So that kind of contradicts that. We don't want to get into hitting game when we don't have the better board. So those things don't help. And we're left with kind of, okay, Michi's. Well, let's look at that. So if we say make the outfield point, and generally making the outfield point is better than hitting loose. So that would tell you making this point is better than the double hit. If we make the outfield point, what's our best two? Well,
Bring another one down.
2 down is not it. So we can go down. But going down strips the midpoint. That's sort of a negative. If we come out, well, we're not giving the double shot. We're not giving the 6. We're reducing shots. So it's a little bit safer. Bold safe again tells you the better board don't play safe. I'm sorry, but with a weaker board, you play tend to be a little bit safer, even though there are other sides to do something different here. But okay, so what's the answer? Well, the answer is, let's see, these 2 places.
What's the second choice?
The double hit is the second choice.
Wow.
So, yeah, but the first choice is to make the point and come out. Again, make the outfield point. That's generally primary over a double hit or hitting loose inside. Even though hitting loose inside is not a bad play here, because again, we got 9 in the zone. And Black has some spares to do some damage, and he can't really do it with 2 on the bar, other than hitting us off the ace point. 13 2 down, that just gives you an extra blot.
I don't know why that's so bad. I don't understand why that's so bad.
2 down.
Yeah.
Well, you've got 3 blots lying around. So that's a negative, and that they're hard to clean up. You've stripped your midpoint. And you don't with that spare here. Usually a spare on the 11 point isn't bad, or a blot on the 11 point, because it's not really that subject to attack. But here Black is split, so you've got more. It's not just a 6-4 that hits. It's an 8. So you got double 4s and 6-2, I guess. 3-5 doesn't hit, but you've added more hitting shots. And so that combination of things makes it bad. And this play is just wrong because it's the wrong game plan. You're behind in the race. And you've left a blot out here. Which you could cover. So that's the general idea. I would say it's common that you're going to leave a checker exposed in your opponent's outfield in order to cover a checker and make a point in your own outfield. Yeah, I don't know if that's a general rule, but it's very common to do that, even when it seems safer you can safety back checker. And this checker is not really in that much danger. I mean, you've got nines and sevens to hit, which, that's a fair number of those. I think there are 5 nines and 6 sevens. Well, I guess that's a lot. I guess that's actually more than I thought. That's a fairly big exposure. So, that's why covering it is useful. And also black begins to escape a back checker if he comes out and hits like that. Okay. Oh, I didn't mention, let me put this back. Tardieu gives a brief summary of the main points here, so I think it's useful going over them. Even sometimes I don't find them that useful, but generally they are. And he says, securing the structural 9, 10, and 11 points is often a good intermediary step, helping you secure vital inner board points and improving your distribution. Yeah, and so that, that's true. That's sort of make the outfield point. That's Michi's proverb. And you even do that over safety in the back checker, simply because it's a good point to have. You can make an inner board point. If black does, and all you didn't mention it, but if black makes an advanced anchor, it's a good blocking point to have. Generally the 9 is considered better than the 10, and the 11 is considered better than 10 for different reasons. But the 10 has a little value of both. So, okay. Next one.
So then conversely, it would be if you can do it, it's good to make your opponent's 9 or 10 point
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
if you can.
that's true, but if you can. But generally it's a hard point to make, because you've got, like, here you can't do it with a single roll. You've got to come up and then not get hit and then make and then try to make the point. So generally, and anything that you did, any of these spots where you can make the 9, 10, or 11 point for your opponent is under a lot of attack. So if white comes up to the 4 or 5 point, which he would need to do in order to get into that range to make this point, black is likely to hit him. Because black doesn't wants to hit, generally you're going to hit loose on your inner board, particularly if you already have a point and your board is better than your opponent's. So yeah, what you said is true, but as a practical matter, it's hard to do.
Mm-hmm. Something to keep in mind, though.
Yeah. I mean, if you get the chance to do it, certainly, but it's not that common because of where it is. It's just quite sort of out of reach, as a general rule. Okay. What do we think about this one?
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Well, you said
How
the
about
point's valuable, so why not make the 9 point?
9 point? Yeah.
Yeah, you got kind of the same thing going on as last time. You can make this point, the 9 point, which is a good point. So why not do it? Make the outfield point. What's the alternative?
$18 to $13.
Yeah, 18 to 13. Now why we may not remember the last position, but why is this a better move in this position than in the last position?
Why is this? Is what a better move?
This 18 to 13. I'll give you the answer, and the answer is make the 9 point. And anything else is, but making safetying the checker to the 13 is not a bad play. It's not even an error. Well, it's a small error. But it is, and so usually, I wouldn't worry about that, but so that I would say that's a certain perfectly acceptable play. But why is, what we saw in the last position that it was a bigger error. Let me see if I can pull it up. And maybe we can compare it. So here, just quickly. Here's where we were before. And so coming out is wrong here to the 13. But here, it's really not bad at all. So I wouldn't call that wrong. So what's the difference in the positions, really? Okay, well, it's the only difference in position. There's two differences here. Two differences. One is that black has a spare here, and then black is split. And here, oops, moved the wrong one. And here in this position, black does not have the spare and black is not split. So a couple things. One, we're up in the race here in this position. So that makes it racing not such a bad idea. Now, it's not the right idea. It's not the best idea, but if you're up in the race, it's better to race than when you're down in the race. Here, we're down in the race. Black being split. Well, now you've got many more opportunities to hit this, the blot out here. Here, black is not split. And so there are fewer opportunities to hit this blot. So that makes covering it less imperative. So between the other thing too here, black is stripped on his 8-point. If black rolls a 1, okay, you get hit, but black has to lose his 8-point to do it. Has to break his 8-point to do it. Yeah. Another thing. So all those combinations of things make it not so bad to hit. Now just if we got the same roll as before, would we do the same thing? Well, let's look. I would think we would come out. Oh, now look at that. I'm surprised by that a little bit. Now it's better to come out. So coming out is just as good as making the point. I think I would still make the point and come up, but now it's a toss-up. And now 2 down isn't bad, even though we're still stripping the midpoint. But it's still the wrong idea. You really don't want to strip the midpoint and get plots around. But black's attacking possibilities are less because he's only got 8 checkers in the zone. So that's spare. Not only is it racing difference, but the extra checker in the zone makes it less worrisome, I guess, for being attacked. Okay. All right, let's go. Double 2s. Oh, I forgot to mention, I should mention this. Let me put it back before I forgot the Tardieu's take on it. So let me read what he said about it. So about this, he says, if you leave a blot on a strategic point you want to secure later, try to place it in front of one or more stripped points. This will force your opponent to break an important point in order to hit. Common example is leaving a tip lot an 18 point in front of the strip, 8 points. Okay, so it's interesting. In the previous play, he talks about making the strategic 9, 10, or 11 point, and here we have the same situation. And he's talking about leaving a blot in front of the strip point, but that the idea I think is good as a general rule is that if you have to leave a blot, you can leave it in front of the strip point, and that's not so bad if you have to do that. But it's funny that he emphasizes that rather than emphasize making the 9 point here. I think it's more useful to think of it. Okay, make a useful point. Make the outfield point is Michi's proverb. So, okay. Okay, here we are, double twos. So what are we looking at here and why? Number of good things you can do here.
1, 2, 3. Well, I sure would like to move those back guys up to the 22.
Yeah, and why is that?
Well, so they have a chance to get out because he's going to make a point in there
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, well, black is threatening some stuff that we don't like, including making the 3 point or the 2 point or the bar point. He's got 10 checkers in the zone, a bunch of spares, and he could very well do something that we don't like very much. So if we come up to the 3 point, make the butterfly anchor, or something advanced anchor, but a butterfly anchor, then at least the priming threat is much less. He can make the bar point, and we've still got the 6s to get out. So we really would like to come up, but there are a couple of other things that we'd really like to do too. What are those?
I would cover the 5 point.
Yeah, we'd really like to make the 5 point. That is the best point to make generally. What else
that's
could
one.
we do? Double twos. Well, double twos, if you have spares in the 6, making the 4 point is almost always the right play with double twos. Now, obviously, making the 5 point is stronger than making the 4. But there is a useful rule that David Presser told me that didn't make it into a book yet, but if you could make the 5 point and you don't make the 5 point, you'd better do at least 2 or 3 other really good things. So we can make the 5 point by going 11 to 5.
Then you're stuck with 1, right?
Yeah. Then you have another one. So what's your next 2? And that's not terrible. You can come down, 13 to 11 again. Or what about split? Well, let's look at that. If you're going to make this play, what's your best 2 to play?
Isn't black there in blitz mode? And don't you not want to split into blitz mode?
Well,
or is he in priming mode? Could be either one.
That's a good question. I would call this a little of both. I mean, this is a very strong position. He does have the stack, so that tells you blitz, but he does have the point.
But so now you're in the same position though.
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say?
You've got the same position as he does.
Yeah, pretty much, except for the extra checker, and we've got 1 to play. But so so in answer to this question, I'm not really sure. I think it's a little of both. I wouldn't call it, but I would consult the splitting signs here, and say, what are the signs to split? Well, has your opponent split? No. Does your opponent have advanced anchor? No. Are you well blocked? No. Does your opponent have 10 or more checkers in the zone? Well, yes, he does. All those, so you don't have a strong sign to split here.
How about slotting the 4?
Okay, yeah, sliding the floor.
He's
That's
only
an
got a
idea. So-
2-point board.
So, okay, so there's one play. Here's the other play, and here's the third play. Assuming that you're gonna make the 5 point. What looks like the best play?
13, 11.
I kind of like slotting the 4.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, well, okay, so you've got a number of covers here, but you're also putting a checker at risk. Now that's not terrible, you know, you've got the same board as your opponent, so you know, the bowl safe doesn't tell you definitively not to do that. We're a little bit behind in the race, so you know, maybe that's a little bit bold, so
So chances of hitting us are a little better than 1 out of 3.
yeah.
So the chances of not hitting us is a little
Yeah.
less than 2 out of 3. So that's pretty good odds.
Okay, so let's go back to the initial question though is, you know, so that was if we made the 5 point, we'll go back to if we made the 5 point, what the best play is. But do we make the 5 point or do we do something else?
I think you make the 5 point.
Okay,
You know, going back to what we were thinking before, one option is to make the 22 point and the 4 point. And Bill Roberti makes that point that you mentioned, David Presser talks about that 2 good points are often worth more than 1 great point.
yeah,
So the 5 point is certainly a great point.
yeah,
But the 22 and the 4 are certainly good points. Obviously, the downside is you're leaving a blot on the
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
But
so let's look at this. And this, you know, in kind of the same logic that Richard was using here is that, okay, you've got you're giving up a number of shots here at this 5 point. But it's less than a third, I guess. So you got all 4s, which is 11, and you got 1 3 and double 2s.
And
So,
double 1s.
Well, no, double 1s don't hit the 5 point. I'm talking about Black's chances of hitting the 5 point. That's your risk.
It's 4 from 1 to 5, double 1s.
I know, but you've got the 4 points, so you
Oh,
can't get.
we'll get the 4 point. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I stepped away from the screen and forgot that.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got so you know, compare that. Okay, compare that to, you know, make slotting the 4 point and putting these back. So yeah, the 5 point is a better point, and you know, you've guaranteed it here. But here you're risking the 5 point, but you've also managed to get the advanced anchor. And you've
Also,
got-
with this layout, you get 2, 4, 6. You get the checker on the 11 point. If he gets a 6, he can cover.
right. Yeah,
And
there are
the
a lot of covers
8
here.
can cover.
Yeah, the 8 from the midpoint, a 6 and a 3. Whereas here,
It's just one, just the 8, the 2, 4, just a
well,
4.
you've got, yeah, well, you got a 7 that covers, you got a 9 that covers, and you've got a 4 that covers. So, yeah, much fewer covers here than in the other situation. Okay, so
I like 2 points.
make the 2 point.
I like the making the 2, the 22 and the 4.
Yeah. Okay. So it turns out that that is the correct play.
Go ahead, you plot.
Because, you know, making the 2 points, even though it's not the best point, those are still pretty good paying points to make. Particularly in this case, the advanced anchor is a big boost, and you know, the 4 point, the 5 point is better than the 4 point, but the alternatives aren't so great. Going back to our if you're gonna make the 5 point, what do you do? Turns out that splitting is right here, and I find that a little surprising. I wouldn't split there. Because you don't have the signs to split. I would have done this play. But it turns out to be wrong. I wonder if it's wrong on plus plus. Probably. But again, the main lesson here is, you've got you're not making the 5 point, but you got two strong two good things to do. And then you've got more covers, many more covers for the 5 point than say slotting the 4 point. Let's look at slotting the 4 point. What's that going to be? 13 to 5, 6 to
There it,
4.
there it
11,
is.
11 to 5. There it is.
It's a huge blunder. Well, not huge.
Let's
but
do it on
it's-
plus plus and we'll see. Yeah, it's actually a huge blunder to do that. Yeah, so swapping out, and actually you do have a lot of covers here. I forgot the you got 2s and 4s and 9s to cover. So that's a lot of covers, but the risk of getting hit without the advanced anchor is probably the problem there. Whereas this, if you do get hit here, at least you have the advanced anchor. So your downside is less than that. Okay, and let's see what Tardieu says about this one. He says, in the opening phase, a play which improves both your offense and defense will often be better than plays that only focus on one side of the board. Yeah, we didn't mention that, but again, that's two good points versus one very good point. Okay, one last one for tonight. And what do we do here?
Well, can you make the 2 point?
We could make the 2 point. Should we make the 2 point?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Uh,
Well, what are we looking at? What should our consideration be? And
Well, our back checkers are in danger of getting locked in.
yeah,
So I would go 24 to 21 and then 6 to 2.
yeah.
Wow.
I would bring both up from the back.
Yeah,
Both up from the back, yeah.
It's time to take a dive and see what happens.
yeah.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Jacob?
I think it's time to risk it because we have a better board and it might be too late in one roll, if it's gonna have us.
Yeah, so there are a lot of good ideas. First of all, you should, I think Richard pointed out, yeah, you have a sign to at least split because black has made the advanced anchor. That's one very strong sign to split. We are well blocked here. It's another strong sign to split. You got a sign not to split because of all the checkers in the zone. But what are we going to do if we don't? When are we going to split? When are we going to? If we don't move something at some point, we're going to get blocked in. We're going to get primed or something. Well, primed is bad enough. So this is a really strong sign that you've got to do something here. So you got to come up and do something. And so the question is, do you come up with 1 or do you come up with 2? Come up with 1 and then go either 6 to 2 or 5 to 2, depending on which one you do. Or do you come up with 2? And so coming up with 2 is a little bit scary because you're probably going to get pointed at 1. He's got a lot of numbers at point, so it's likely you're going to get point point on you. However, unless he rolls double ones, he's not gonna hit you twice. Then double ones would be a disaster if you come up with two. But if he only hits you with once, then you at least have a chance to make the advanced anchor.
Yep.
And if you make the advanced anchor, then then we're in a holding game where we have at least a decent shot. So it's gonna turn out that, coming up with two is right.
Goodness.
Let's look at Ann like the 2 point, so we'll see what the 2 point does.
Oh,
That's
God.
down here. Actually, you did not like the 2 point.
No,
Um,
neither do I now.
yeah, and yeah, again, it's the wrong idea because you're making points behind the anchor, and we have a real problem with our anchor. Our anchor is way back. Michi called this the glued back checkers. So having your checkers on the ace point is something that you need to take care of at some point early on in the game, and the game has gone on a while. And so
Mhm.
we're not in good shape here. Okay, so
Okay,
it's 2 up. Again, if we're likely to get pointed on here, but unless it's double ones, well, actually double twos are bad too, or double threes. Well, that's not good. It's our best shot. We're not in a great situation. We're 40% to win, and we're giving up a lot of gammons either way. It's actually interesting. It's actually, if you're going to come up, it's actually better to come down rather than to slot the 2 point. That's 24.
where's the move where you take the eight, the checkers on the 8 point is that even listed?
What do you mean? You mean break the 8 point?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Or move them both.
Here it is.
Mm,
So that's the wrong idea. Making the 2 point is probably better than making the 8. You need the landing point at some point, but really
Oh, right.
your back checkers. Yeah, here's that. So that's a huge blunder as well as making the 2 point. But yeah, all the top plays, even the blunders, have you split. You really need to get off the back, the ace point here.
Gary, I have seen so many people, so many, on YouTube, so many players, when there's a blot on their 5 point, they will hit loose again and again and again to keep their opponent from getting the 5 point. So my tendency is to come up to their 4 point where they're the less likely to hit loose.
Yeah.
But this is saying come up to their 5 point.
Well, it's saying come up to the 5 and the 4, split both your back.
Well, but I mean, even if they're only coming up with one, they're coming up. Well, no, they're not.
Yeah.
The second move there is coming up to the 3 point and then down. It's a blunder, but still.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Am I wrong in my thinking?
Well, I'm not sure. Well, yeah. Well, generally, coming up to the 4 point is better than coming up to the 5 in this case.
But in general,
in general, that's right. If you're under attack, you want to come up to generally the weaker point, because if your opponent makes it, that's not as bad. But again, the thing to recognize here is you got to come up with both. The other thing I didn't mention is that if you're going to get pointy on, you can come into the bar and make the advanced anchor. Also, if Black has to use the one of these 2 points, he's going to leave you another shot. It's only if he comes in with being able to use this point and this point that he doesn't leave a shot. So, coming up is scary because you're likely to get hit, you're likely to get pointed on, but you've got the return shots. So it's a little bit risky. Well, it's a lot risky to do this, but you do have the better board, and you really have to do something. You can't leave your checkers back there.
well, so if you do that and he hits you, he's gonna double you like the next time.
Well, yeah, if you don't, if you dance, certainly it may be too good to double at that point. But if you dance, certainly, or even if if you can't make the advanced anchor, you're gonna get doubled. And
Well, I don't like this example at all. I'll throw this one out.
well, I think the idea is to suggest to you that it's not that outrageous to come up with the 2 points. When you're in this situation, because by this time, you really have to get these guys moving. That's really weak, and that's, there were probably signs before you did this. So, it looks like black maybe got double sixes or something like that. And so white didn't really have that much time to take care of that, but, the point is you really have to, you can't leave your checkers stacked back there when black is building the prime. Very bad.
Okay,
Let's call that a night and go on to the chouette.
okay.